About a year ago, I expressed my disappointment with CS2's matchmaking system and the lack of update or visible effort from Valve to improve it. Today we're gonna talk about the direct consequence of this. Turns out, the most played mode of CS2 is also the most unbalanced. Wow. But it has a bigger impact than you think. We're not even gonna mention cheaters, but rather focus on something factual as I got the help of Leetify to help bring the data and prove my point. And we're doing it right after a word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by SkinsMonkey, an easy-to-use trading site, and here's how it works. I have this open, I'm not gonna lie, it looks like garbage. It's even worse in game. So lucky me, I go on SkinsMonkey, put it on the balance, and I can trade with any other skins I see here. If I need to add more balance, I will put in the code Jeff to get an extra 5% on top of the usual 30%. And with the first trade bonus, the more you trade, the more cashback you get. It's an easy way for you to change your skins and play with something fresh. Have a look at the freebies tab to get in giveaways and tasks, and if you're interested, you know where to find the link, right? Valve's policy is basic. Let the updates do the talking and third parties do the working. So as a result, other companies filled the gap. Now I know a good portion of the CS players built their identity around hating Valorant, but to make my point, we have to take a look elsewhere. Simply put, these two are on the opposite of the spectrum. As a result, in Valorant, there is no third party. Everyone plays within the game. Whatever match you play, whatever elo you win or lose, goes into the same system from Iron to Radiant. By squeezing themselves to the top, players are forming some kind of organic resistance, and they are making it significantly harder for other players to work their way up. They don't match the same skill. Every match played benefits the whole system and adds accuracy to the rating. And because everyone plays within the same system, there is no scenario where someone who is in the middle of the ranks will have to face someone from the top, unless you play as a 5-stack, which is a different scenario. That is what happens in a closed environment where your player base isn't divided and the progress on a different scale. Now we're gonna switch back to Counter-Strike. Nope, it's no longer that one. In another video, I've talked about Faceit and how big it became. What you need to remember from this video is this. 18% of the players only played CS on Faceit exclusively. Take a moment to appreciate how significant that number actually is. Almost 1 out of 5 players of Counter-Strike isn't accounted for in Counter-Strike's ranking system. And there's an even bigger proportion of players who play both on Faceit and the Premier, so how can you even find a proper balance with those conditions? This is something I have felt, and you have felt probably for quite some time. It was already the case in Global Offensive. The top ranks were plagued by an incredible skill difference. I did videos where we would only play with USPs and Glocks and still won quite easily, frankly. If it was actually balanced, it would have been a lot harder. And with the disaster that Premier has been so far, it really feels like this tendency has gotten worse. Is that something we can measure though? Maybe. I needed to find a way to get the data, and so night after night I kept trying. Eventually, I got really good at hacking. I have found a way into the cracks of the firewall and hacked the mainframe using a cloud beep boop protocol, and I have no idea what I'm saying. I asked Leetify again. The idea is to find the correlation between the Premier elo and the Faceit elo, and thanks to Leetify, we have a proper visualization. This graph shows data taken a few months ago on a big sample of players who played at least 20 matches in both Premier and Faceit over the course of 28 days. On the left, the Premier rating, on the right, the Faceit elo, and it reads like this. The 14,000 elo in Premier is populated by Faceit level 2s, just as well as Faceit level 10s. All of them coexisting at the same rank, as if we would expect them to have the same skill level. This graph really shows just how broad the gap is in every ranks. Even on top, you'll find Faceit level 4 ranked the same as 3.6k elo. And I have played with and against those, and I can tell you, one is spicier than the other. Now, I expect some of you to not understand why this is such a big deal, so let me oversimplify it for you. Faceit has 10 levels and you go up and down depending on your elo. Once you reach 2001, you are level 10. Congratulations, you are still far from the best. From here, you will get even more and more elo to find better and better players until you get to the actual top. At the time I'm recording this, the top 1 sits at around 4,400 elo, and you will recognize a few names in there such as Donk. You are looking at the only leaderboard that actually means something in CS2. To give you an idea of the average player, in these ranks you will find Olofmeister, Spinks, Get Right, NBK, names you will recognize as seasoned CS players, pros or even semi-pros. That's how competitive it actually is up there. And yeah, if you were wondering, the Premier Cheaterboard is nothing but a joke and an embarrassment for Valve's anti-cheat. And a side note, a recent study focusing on the effectiveness of client-sided AC for FPS games came out with this result. Good news, Counter-Strike has the most players, and also, whose anti-cheat is rated dead last? Yeah. Anyway, now you understand why a graph like this highlights the problem that will seemingly always exist. If you enjoy CS2 and play every now and then, you are probably an average player. Data shows you will be around 10,000 Premier elo. And yet, the rating used to get you a balanced match simply cannot find the balance. In your matches, you will find those. They are Faceit level 8, but the same Faceit level 8s are also found at 22k in Premier. So, which is it? 10? 22? Any ranks in between? It is Sunday, the weather is nice, and you're gonna go outside and play some chill football with the boys. The match begins, and fucking Zlatan jumps in there and obliterates your ass. If that's your Premier experience, now you know why. Ever feel like you're inconsistent in CS? Well, maybe it's not just you. Maybe it's the fault of a very inaccurate ranking system. A faulty matchmaking in a competitive environment will result in a bad experience. And to be honest, this isn't something happening because of Valve's actions, but rather Valve's inaction. By allowing their matchmaking system to be consistently so bad through the years, they've divided their player base, and unless they shut down every third party in existence, and God knows I pray they never do that, I don't think they can ever fix this, even if they had the best intentions of the world. Today, every match played on a different platform than Valve's matchmaking is data they will never be able to use. And with as much as 20% who only play on one of them, that is Faceit, it's a lost battle. What can they do? Shut down Faceit? Yeah, maybe. At this point, I guess their rating system would probably get better. But then you would have to worry about the anti-cheat problem, and that would turn out really, really bad. And that's why I believe the situation will simply never get better. Another consequence is players with different intentions are being forced to play together. How often have you heard, "Oh dude, it's only Premier, who cares?" Yeah, because that guy played a couple of Faceit games, got very sweaty, and he already has his competitive itch scratched. Now he wants to chill. But in the same game, you could have someone who only plays Premier and wants to get competitive right now. Yet they are stuck together, adding to the many reasons your CS2 Premier experience sucks. Lastly, I think this whole ordeal clogs the reporting system. I'm not teaching you anything. In CS2, the cheating situation is out of control. I know it, you know it, your grandma knows it. So when these casual players get repeatedly Zlataned in an unbalanced match, their first idea won't be to check the Faceit level of the guy in front of them. They might not even know what Faceit is, and they will probably blame it on cheating. You know, the announcement of CS2 is the most excited I've been for the game in basically forever, especially the part talking about a revamped matchmaking. We are now 2 years later, and any form of excitement ended in a painful, gruesome way. At this point, nothing seems to indicate change is on the way, so it's probably best if you keep that in mind. Suck it up. Because that is Counter-Strike, and apparently it's not about to change. Deal with it or go away. That's it.